Nation here,
Okay.
and then I will kick it off to our audience outside of our Zoom room. So we're just going to give it a second here. All right, we are live, everyone. Welcome in. Welcome in. Those of you here with us behind the curtain, so to speak, on Zoom, and those of you looking in on our social media channels, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you are, and also looking in from other ministries that are sharing this message, or just in your own home or with your own study group. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. I am Reverend Dr. Stephen J. 𝗔𝗍𝗃, Unity Prosperity Ocean International. We often go by Unity Emerald Coast here in Northwest Florida on the beautiful Gulf waters. So we're going to dive right in. We go right to the message, not a lot of fluff. We go to our daily word and prayer and the message and meditation. So let's dive right in by bringing out my beautiful partner and friend, Reverend 𝗧𝗃 𝗃. Get us going here, 𝗧𝗃. Come on out.
Well, good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday. I know it's Sunday, but today's December 6th. I can't, oh no, 7th, December 7th. I know what day it is. I promise you I do. All right. So today's word is peace. Peace. So let's say the affirmation 3 times together. Its perfect peace dwells within me and all beings. So its perfect peace dwells within me and all beings. Perfect peace dwells within me and all beings. As I prepare for a fuller experience of my divinity this Advent season, I turn my attention to cultivating peace of mind and heart. This inner preparation invites me to look beyond my circumstances and attune to the deeper harmony that underlies all creation. Whether I'm in a busy city or a calming natural setting, I trust that each day will dawn in perfect alignment with the heavenly bodies of the cosmos. Likewise, whether I feel anxious or calm, I trust heavenly peace is within me. Aware of my peaceful nature, I choose thoughts, words, and actions that honor my spiritual self. My presence restores calm in chaos and invites serenity to ease distress. My tranquil demeanor magnifies the peace of God. And from our scripture reference, it is going to be from the second book of Thessalonians, chapter 3, verse 16. And it reads, "Now may the Lord of peace himself give you peace at all times, in all ways. The Lord be with all of you. Amen." May the Lord add a blessing and to the reading and to the hearing of these words today. God bless you. And again, happy Sunday.
Thank you so much, 𝗧𝗃, for coming out and doing that, Reverend 𝗧𝗃. Always good to have you on full screen, having the face for radio and the voice for print. I want to, talking about me, and I want to thank you again for jumping on here and handling the message last week. Reverend 𝗧𝗃, Sugar Ray 𝗧𝗃, packing a punch from the pulpit, is caregiver extraordinaire. So she jumped in, and Ron ran her up to kind of work with me through some things, but all is well on the mend. And here we are back together again in this, today is the 7th, right? So this is the second Sunday in Advent, the second Sunday in Advent. So welcome everybody in again. And we're going to take a dive right in. And we're going to talk today about what the second Sunday in Advent calls us to be reminded of, to reflect on, and that is peace. And you may start out, well, we do this every year. Advent comes and it's hope and faith, then it's peace, then it's love, then it's joy. But when you are here with us, when you are here hearing this message from me anyway, we look through a different lens. We take on a different perspective. And we are all familiar with what one of my favorite teachers said, and that we heard a lot, and that is when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. That's Wayne Dyer. And I think that's really important here because this is not a message that you're going to hear in any of the fanatical or the fundamental or traditional churches, that kind of thing. Because, peace is talked about in so many ways. Oh, we ought to all pray and we have to beg God for peace over here and peace over there, and that the children stop fighting and they can get through the day in peace. So we're talking about something totally different than all of that. Yes, we want all that. Of course we do. But we have to look at how can we make an impact? How can we influence all that? So today's message is that I prepared today is titled The Peace That Christ Brings. And I just want to say, having worked through some things myself the past few weeks, what a blessing it is to be with you all again on this sacred journey through Advent, the season of inspiration, of intention, and holy remembrance. Now, Advent for me has always been a deeply personal and sacred time. And I look back to being a little boy raised in Catholicism with a very, very Catholic family and two very loving parents at home. And Christmas morning, man, I just loved it. They made it so special. I didn't realize, sure didn't seem like we didn't have we only had a couple nickels to rub together because it was grand and glorious, and you couldn't even walk because of the gifts all over the place. But being raised in that Catholic household, I had a deep reverence for all things. I mean, I did when I was little, before I got into all the bad habits, I did church in my basement, as a little boy, making little communion wafers out of Wonder Bread and that kind of thing. But Christmas morning, way back then, I was reflecting on that when I was preparing this piece today. And one of my main rock solid foundations for my ministry is seek first the kingdom. And I was looking back at those memories and realized every Christmas morning I did that. We had a nativity set underneath the tree. We didn't have a train set and a bunch of presents underneath the tree. They were elsewhere. But we had a beautiful nativity set. I mean, big pieces in the nativity set that my grandmother actually made. She was skilled at doing ceramics and painting the details on them. My little sister still has that set to this day. Covered the whole bottom and spread out from the base of the tree. And around that was a little metal fence that came somewhere from my grandma's attic that was always around the Christmas tree. And the gate was always closed until Christmas morning, when I was the first one to the tree. And I dropped down to my knees in prayer and I opened that gate. And I was thinking about that beautiful memory and being brought up that way, rooted and grounded in perhaps a different set of beliefs and rules than what I talk about here, but nevertheless, a tremendous impact. And I'm very fond of those memories. And I look at the representation as a metaphysician, what that means, opening that gate. What are we opening the gate to? What are we called to open the gate to right here, right now? And it's been personal and sacred for me for a really long time. It was during this Advent season, 17 years ago this month, that I made a life-changing decision on Christmas Eve. I laid down two things, well, even more, but really two things that held me in bondage for years: alcohol and tobacco. I didn't do it through sheer willpower. I didn't do it by forcing myself or reprimanding myself. I stepped into an inner peace that had been calling to me my whole life, that whole time, that called to me when I opened those gates. I discovered the presence of the Christ within as the presence of God as peace. And I surrendered to it. That night was a new beginning. I didn't know what the future held. In fact, I was told I'd be dead in 3 days. But it was a new beginning, a holy birth, a moment when peace entered my life in a way I could no longer deny. So Advent isn't theory for me. It isn't nice things we say leading up to Christmas, hope and faith and peace and love and joy. It's all those things, yes, but so much more. It's memory, it's truth, it's lived experience. It represents hope being born, faith rising up, and peace taking its rightful place in consciousness. So we journey this Advent season from hope to faith and now to peace. So last Sunday, as many ministries around the world lit the first candle of Advent. And again, thank you, Reverend Tene, for doing that for all of us here and those listening in. So many lit the candle of hope and faith. And I was in the hospital recovering. And today, Tene delivered the message using a sermon I'd prepared on the spiritual power of praise and adding her touch to it, which was delivered so beautifully, by the way. But what a beautiful synchronicity, because praise is what activates hope, and praise is what strengthens faith. So a beautiful lead in. So today, as we light the second candle, I have it here, but I don't want to pick it up and spill wax all over. It's been burning for a while. But as we light the second candle of peace, we gently honor that sequence. Hope awakens the possibility. Faith says, yes, it is so. Peace is that inner atmosphere where the Christ is born. Hope lifts our eyes. Faith strengthens our steps, and peace settles into our hearts and prepares the manger for the birth of new consciousness. Jesus told us in chapter 14, verse 27 of John, he said, peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you, not as the world gives, coming from outside. His words were, not as the world gives, give I unto you. What does this mean? This is not the peace of positive circumstance, not the peace of everything going the way we want. This is not the peace of perfect schedules, empty inboxes, cooperative relatives, the meal turning out just right. This is spiritual peace, the peace of Christ consciousness, the stillness, the center of our being. It is the peace that was present before any problems arose. It is the peace that will remain long after the noise fades. It is the peace that indeed passes all understanding, as Paul wrote in Philippians chapter 4, verse 7. So today I want you to consider looking at peace in a new light. I want to invite you into that peace, a peace where hope becomes trust, where faith becomes knowing, and where Christ consciousness, and all that Christ is the truth of who and what we really are, is born in your soul again, and you awaken to it. So let's look at that for a moment. What is peace really? What peace? What really is peace? Peace is not passive. It's not quiet resignation. It's not withdrawal from life. Unity teaches through the co-founders, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, through 𝗪𝗠, through the daily word that we share with you all the time, that peace is a spiritual power. Now, it's not listed as one of our 12 powers, but peace is a power. Make no mistake about it. Power you activate, a power you cultivate. Charles Fillmore wrote that peace is, and I love two of my favorite words, harmony and tranquility derived from awareness of the Christ consciousness. So here's a new perspective. Peace is an inside job. It is the vibration of your soul, your very soul, when you are aligned with truth. 𝗪𝗪, author of Lessons in Truth, my second Bible, she wrote that peace comes from knowing your true relation to God. Not simply believing, not intellectually agreeing, knowing. Knowing. Peace is what you become when you remember who and what you are. I want to share the story, because this is we all know the story of Mary and the Virgin Mary and the angel coming as a messenger saying you are with child and all that stuff. But most people read the Christmas story beginning with that, the angel visiting Mary. I love it. It's one of my favorite verses come in Luke right after that, because 137. I highlighted everything in the Bible that was either 3:17 or 137, and 137 in Luke says nothing is impossible to God. But anyway, if you read the Gospel of Luke closely, there's another story told alongside Mary's, the story of Zechariah. Now, in the story of the Gospel of Luke, the story of Zechariah, a righteous priest, and that's what it's all about. And it's a parallel narrative to Mary's, highlighting or maybe even contrasting God's faithfulness and the dawn of a new era of salvation. And if you're not really familiar with it, that's okay. A lot of people aren't. But let me just give you a quick synopsis of this, real brief. Zechariah and his wife Elizabeth they're devout, it's blameless. They're advanced in years, okay? Now, but their childlessness, they never had any children that they really wanted. And it was a source of shame and disappointment in their community. So while serving in his priestly duties in the temple, Zechariah was chosen to enter. They drew by lot what priest would do what, and he was chosen by lot to enter the holy place and burn incense. There, the angel Gabriel appeared to him and announced that his prayers had been heard, and Elizabeth would bear a son named John. All right, who would be the forerunner of the Lord in the spirit and power of Elijah. Now, Elizabeth and Mary were cousins, all right? They were pretty tight. So they're going to go through this pretty close together. But there is doubt in his mind, and there's a consequence to that doubt, right? Overwhelmed by the news, Zechariah questioned the angel, asking, give me a sign to be sure. Because of their old age, how can this be? Because of his unbelief, Gabriel struck Zechariah mute, saying he would be unable to speak until the prophecy was fulfilled. So then the conception and seclusion. Zechariah, unable to speak, communicated by signs when he left the temple. And the people realized he had seen a vision, all right? Elizabeth soon conceived and remained in seclusion for 5 months, praising God for removing her disgrace. Now, when the baby was born, neighbors and relatives wanted to name him, it suggested they name him after his father, Zechariah. Elizabeth insisted that the child's name was John, as the angel had instructed her, right? When they motioned to Zechariah, he wrote on a tablet, his name is John. So he was restored to speech and pray. Immediately, Zechariah's ability to speak was restored, and he began praising God. He was filled with the Holy Spirit and prophesied in a song known as the Benedictus about God's faithfulness to his covenant and his son John's role in preparing the way for the Messiah. The event caused awe throughout the region, and people wondered about the child's role. And yet the story of Zechariah contrasts with Mary's in that Mary believed and submitted to God's will with a question of wonder. How will this be? While Zechariah questioned the possibility of the promise coming true. There's a difference, resulting in temporary muteness as the sign and consequence for his doubt. How often do we do that? When we're holding something, holding on to the vision of something we want to be made manifest in our field of experience. We begin to doubt, and we begin to see it as not possible for an experience or a realization in our lives. Both narratives ultimately demonstrate that nothing is impossible for God. And we know that, of course, John went on, the son of Zechariah and Elizabeth, to be John the Baptist. Both Mary and Zechariah asked the angel Gabriel the exact same question. How can this be? Mary receives encouragement. Zechariah is struck mute. Why? Is God playing favorites? No, it's metaphysics. That's why we're here. Get this figured out, right? But we don't really have to figure it out. Mary represents the soul in its receptive, surrendered, faith-filled state. Just beautiful. Zechariah represents the overthinking mind. How often do we do this? We overthink, right? It represents Zechariah represents the overthinking mind, the reasoning intellect, the part of us that tries to figure it all out. I got to figure this out. When he was struck silent, it wasn't punishment, it was mercy, grace, a gift. Because, and this is from Unity magazine in 1902, all manifestations of life originate in the silence. All manifestations of life originate in the silence. Sometimes peace requires the quieting of the mental chatter. Sometimes peace requires muting the inner critic. Sometimes peace requires shutting down the thinking mind. Excuse me. So the divine idea can take root. When Zechariah finally speaks again, what does he speak? A blessing, prophecy, words aligned with spirit. Peace begins in that silence. And I want you to know that peace that we're talking about here today is not the absence of noise. It is the presence of God. Reverend 𝗏 can tell you, when I'm entering into my silence, I have a fan on for white noise. I have brown noise on the commuter. I have meditative music going on, but I step into the feeling of the presence of God. You've heard this before too. Peace is not the absence of conflict. That's what I was alluding to at the beginning of my message today. Peace is not the absence of conflict, but the presence of God. You can be standing in the middle of a crowded store in December, Christmas music blaring, kids crying, hearts rolling, people arguing, and still be at peace. You could be in a hospital room, hearing machines beep, 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 and doctors moving with urgency, the staff running around, code blue here, code this there. You can be in all that and still be at peace. You can be handling family obligations, work responsibilities, holiday pressure, being a caregiver, and still be at peace. Why? How? Because peace is not out there. It's in here. Peace doesn't depend on conditions. We often allow it to, but it depends on consciousness. Jesus demonstrated this beautifully when he spoke the words, "Peace, be still." He wasn't speaking to the water. He was speaking to the wind and the waves in consciousness. And immediately they obeyed. Your thoughts will obey you too if you speak from the Christ in you. Back to my story real quick, my personal Christmas Eve turning point. 17 years ago this month, I experienced one of the most profound spiritual awakenings of my life. It was Christmas Eve. I had reached a point where I knew something had to shift. No one forced me. No one lectured me. No one shamed me. Well, maybe this one doctor a little bit, myself for sure. It wasn't discipline that saved me. It was peace. It was peace. And I didn't realize it right away, but it was peace that saved me. The peace of God, the peace of the Christ, the peace of that inner presence that said, Stephen, you can lay these burdens down now. Now. And I did. That peace has guided me every day since. It has sustained me, healed me, reordered my life, lifted me, and kept me centered. So when I talk about peace, I'm not talking just about a holiday theme here or a liturgical symbol. I'm talking about a spiritual power that can save your life. Let's talk for a moment about peacemaker. Charles Fillmore asked one time, he said, who is a peacemaker? And then he answered his own question. He said, one who has the ability to say peace to the turbulent waves of thought and have them obey. I stopped when I saw that because I might have read it a million times, but if you really lean into that, that's pretty profound. Because we move ourselves to a place of liberty and freedom when we know that we have that kind of control. That's when we take back our power. A peacemaker is one who has the ability to say peace to the turbulent waves of thought and have them obey. Because we know they're going all the time, right? Peace begins in consciousness and radiates outward into relationships, home life, work life, and into the world. You become a peacemaker by mastering inner stillness. The world is transformed through individuals who embody peace, not individuals who merely wish the world was more peaceful. And to me, that's a profound statement right there. This talk today just, man, download, spirit speaking, just moving through me. But think about that. There's a lot of people out there. But embodying peace, being what peace is, and not simply somebody that's sitting in a pew somewhere or wherever wishing the world was more peaceful, that's not what does it. It's being what peace is. Peace is really a birthplace. And we're going to look at that right now real quick. Peace as that birthplace, preparing for the Christ within. Advent is not only about celebrating the birth of Jesus 2,000 years ago. Advent is about the birth of Christ's consciousness in you, in each and every one of you hearing these words right now. Whether it's on Zoom, social media, and another ministry. Hello, Roseanne, we see you out there. The manger is your consciousness. The stable is your awareness. The light of your star, the light of the star, is your intuition. The angels are divine ideas, messengers. And peace is the atmosphere necessary for birth. Peace is what makes room at the end. Peace is what softens resistance. Peace is what allows divine ideas to grow and take shape. So let's move into our action and applications here right away with some denials and affirmations for you to use. I think Tanae should have these. Let me know if you do or don't, and we can put these in the chat. I know we can put them on the chat in Facebook. I can do it in the chat here probably. But these are from 𝗧𝗵𝘁's teachings and 𝗦𝗂𝗰𝘁's teachings, and know that we incorporate denials and affirmations as our work to do, to cleanse the mind and prepare the heart. So we deny what is untrue with statements. Number one, nothing can disturb the peace of my soul. Number two, no outer condition has power over my inner calm. And number three, I release all fear, anxiety, and confusion. I let them go. Great. Tanae has those in the chat. Thank you for that. Congratulations. That's in there. First time looking at the chat. Thank you, Joanna. All right. Where was I? Denial. So we got all three of those, right? Nothing can disturb the peace of my soul. No outer condition has power over my inner calm. I release all fear, anxiety, and confusion. I let them go. So then we affirm, and we can put one with one, two with two. Number one, the peace of God fills my heart and mind. So the way we would do this, nothing can disturb the peace of my soul. The peace of God fills my heart and mind. Number two, Christ in me is perfect peace. So no outer conditions has power over my inner calm. No outer condition. Christ in me is my perfect peace. And finally, number three, I am centered, calm, and guided by divine stillness. So we'd match this up to our third denial and then affirm. I release all fear, anxiety, and confusion. I let them go. I am centered, calm, and guided by divine stillness. So here's some action steps that you can do if you want to deepen into this. Spiritual practices you might consider that deepen peace. Maybe you have an Advent wreath, or you can just use a candle. Light the Advent candles each morning each day if you have 4 of them, or at a designated time. Maybe you and your partner, settle into this place of spiritual reflection, or just take one candle. Say, this is my time to just sit in peace. to contemplate the flame as the Christ in me. Number 2, spend 5 minutes in the silence. Maybe even create a peace corner in your home if you have room to do this. This is my sanctuary, my peace corner. Doesn't have to be a corner, it could be. Offer forgiveness. This is putting some feet on all this, right? Offer forgiveness where healing is needed. You don't have to put yourself in a confrontational situation, but you can offer forgiveness where you know healing has to start showing up. And this last one here, let your presence be peace to others. Boy, talk about Christmas presents. Let your presence be peace to others. That's a beautiful gift. So, peace as your Christmas gift to the world. Everybody out there, as we move toward Christmas, let peace be your gift. Just show up as what peace is. Let peace be your practice. Let peace be your prayer. Let peace be your very presence. For the Christ is born in a peaceful heart. And the Christ in you is ready to shine. Amen. Let's do a meditation around all of this as we move to the close of our time together today. I'm going to put on a little background music so that we can take a deep breath while this is getting going here, and you can just kind of settle into your comfort space and consciousness, taking a few deep breaths, maybe closing your outer eyes if it's safe to do so and you're comfortable doing so. Breathe deeply, not really controlling the breath, just acknowledging it. And step into the holy stillness of this moment. There is a light within you. A soft, steady, radiant Christ light, glowing in the manger of your soul. Feel it. See it. Rest in it. Take a break and release every thought that does not serve your peace. Let the outer world fade away as you enter the sanctuary of divine calm. Silently affirm, peace is here. Peace is now. Peace is who I am. Let the presence fill you. Heart, mind, breath, spirit, body, soul. Now let that Christ light expand, softening every tight space and place within you, quieting every wandering thought, calming every storm within. In this stillness, hear the whisper of Spirit. My peace I give you, not as the world gives, but as the Christ within gives. Feel this peace settling into your heart, grounding you, guiding you, renewing you. Know that this peace goes with you everywhere. into your relationships, your holiday preparations, your decisions, your challenges, your dreams. You are the instrument of peace. You are the expression of divine calm. You are the light the world needs. Take one more deep breath, deep cleansing breath. And when you're ready, gently open your eyes and realize peace is here. Peace is now. Peace is you. And so it is, and so we let it be. Amen. I want to very gently thank you all for looking in. We'll come back to Zoom room here in a minute, our Zoom room here in a minute. But I want to say bye for now to our social media feed, to other ministries, to those looking in on YouTube, Facebook, and wherever else you may have found this. And know that Reverend Tanae and I and all of us at Unity Prosperity Ocean International wish for you a very peace-filled second Sunday in Advent, and know that we behold the Christ in you. We appreciate you, and we wish for you an infinitely spectacular day. God bless you. Thanks for being here with us. Thanks for looking in. We'll see you next time. This is Reverend Dr. 𝗵𝗁𝗁 𝗀𝗃.